So running multiple touch strips on here is definitely possible. I've got about 128 equivalents of the touch strip just right here. Because what I have, the touch strip is a button and a fader. So it's actually two MIDI commands. When you touch it like that, that's a button. And when you do that, that's the fader part of it. So you need two MIDI messages to be like a touch strip. And so what I'm using here is this button down here. So that's the button and then the fader. So I'm turning on the touch effects and then moving the whatever the parameter is I want to change on the touch effects. So the first one here, I've got just the exact same thing on both. I've got the DJ, DJ filter. I've got the same thing on here. On the first one. So I send the button command and then I move the fader. But I could do the same thing with any of these encoders. They have a button and then they have the encoder that you can turn. So I've got 8 of those, 8 of those. Then I've got 8 different pages of those. So I've got 8 times 16, 128 possible things that I can control right here under my fingertips on the Faderfox. And it's really easy to set it up too. So I'm going to go through how to set that up. So I just have the Faderfox plugged into the USB on the back of the MPC. Go to Menu, Properties, and you'll see the Faderfox listed there. It already knew it was the Faderfox. I didn't have to put that in there. And then you highlight whatever you want to control. Yeah, when I plugged it in, it was only track highlighted. So I've highlighted also control and global. So that's all I did with that. The second step is to put an effect somewhere. If you're controlling an effect with this, you put an effect somewhere, and then we need to route the MIDI to the effect. So it's this thing that looks like a 7 there, MIDI learn. So I'll redo one of them. I'll redo this reverb being controlled by the third encoder there. Control there, that was my third encoder on the Faderfox. And so I will delete that one out. Okay, so now there's no more third encoder controlling anything. And what you do is you hit the plus for a new one, and you get a blank one like that. The source. Now I have mine on the main output 1 and 2. That's where the reverb is sitting. So that's right. The target is what you want to control. So it's insert number 4 has the reverb on it. And then it lists all the stuff you can control on the effect. Because it's the reverb, it's got all the reverb controls listed here. And it's the mix that I was controlling. And then on that, you want to put ABS CC if you're using the Faderfox and you want to control like a fader type of thing. There are some that you could use note on if it's something that's expecting a note to be incoming to play it. So you can actually use those green buttons there as notes if you wanted to, but we're doing faders here on the reverb control. And then you hit learn. And then you move the fader. Boom. And it lists it right there. There it is. And so if I go to the mixer and look at the reverb and I move this encoder, I can see the mix is moving there. It's really that simple. And the Faderfox itself is super simple to program what the buttons do as well. So let me go through that for a second here. So what you do to program the Faderfox or set it up is you hit Shift and the Edit Setup button, like that. And now each one of these encoders are for something. So, and you click on them to see what the settings currently are. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to set up a button and an encoder. So I'm going to do encoder 4, which is currently not doing anything, and button 4. So you go over to, well, we can look at fader 4 first since that's what we came to. So the first encoder will decide which one of these buttons or faders you're working on. So we're working on fader 4. We'll click on this and see what the current setting is on that. Standard, that's fine. CCAB, that's correct for faders. And whatever that says, that's fine. Channel 1, you can change the channel if you want to. And it's all automatically set up to control numbers 74, CC number 74. So that's fine. So that'll be 74, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. And the lowest level is 0. The highest level is 127. So let's go like this touch strip from 0 to 127. Now, if you just want it to start in the middle and go up, like with some type of DJ filter or something, you could do it that way, but currently set up just like the touch strip. And then I also need a button because, like I said, this has 2 MIDI messages that go out. The button and then the touch strip. So to set up the button, we turn this again. Start over again with this encoder, and we'll just work down the line. We start over and we choose button. So we choose button 4. So now I'm deciding what this button here is going to do. And I click on these to see how it's set now. Standard, that's fine. Note, it's set up to play a note. That's not correct. Just turn that, and now it's set up to play a CC. So that's great. Then button. Now you can choose there button or toggle. So in terms of one of these touch strip things, that's not how this touch strip is currently set up. What happens is when you push this button, well, I can show you what happens when you hit the button. So currently, when you touch down on the touch strip, boom, it does touch enable. And so it's not a toggle. It's not a toggle. And you let off, and touch enable goes away. Touch enable comes on, and then you move that touch strip like that. So that's what it's doing. Those 2 MIDI messages there. A button, BTN message, and a 127 message, 0 to 127. That's all it's doing. So you want that to be on BTN. And then, I mean, if you want it to be like touch strip, but you can also do the toggle if you want to. And then this one's doing channel 1. This is doing number 67. That's doing level 0 to 127, which doesn't. and now that's set up. Now 4 is completely set up in the Faderfox. So that's how you would set up your Faderfox. And you just tap the Edit Setup button to escape the setup. Oh, let's watch the Faderfox, and I'll show you how it's working then. So if we take a look at this second touch effects thing. So this is the Faderfox doing this, the first one there. So if I hit this green button, I've got it to do the touch enable. So that's the same thing as touching this. And then I've got the fader doing that, the touch value. So touch enable and touch value are the two that you want to control. And then the second one, I was controlling the fly tape. So the second fader there, see, I'm controlling the speed of that kind of a tape stop thing and the button. I'm doing this. Anyway, really easy to do. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I can help you out getting the Faderfox going with the MPC so you can have your 128 touch strips. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this and I'll see you in the next one.